And
you need to hurry up. We're running out of time.
Yeah, I know.
Because we're supposed to start.
And we will.
Why didn't you have this ready before?
And we are live now. I'm going to get ready to start the show. So,
are you ignoring me?
A little bit. You know how I am. He gives me crap, and I just ignore him.
Nice.
We've been doing that for, 19 years?
Good stuff.
Yeah, he does something, and then I'm the one that gives him shit, and then I'm the one that has to go do it correctly.
Hey, you're live now.
Oh, wait, do I? Okay. I better watch my language.
You are live. Okay, so let's start this show, huh?
Okay, so have you got all the thank you, the guy that comes in?
Quiet.
Okay, okay, I'm trying to be quiet.
Hey, it's me, the movie trailer voiceover guy, and the following message is from the Dude I Got an Idea podcast. In a world where people's feelings are as soft as the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man's balls, and where saying good morning to a crazy but extremely hot chick can be considered sexual harassment. In a world where eating bacon can get you killed, comes a podcast like no other, hosted by two idiots. I mean two big assholes. I mean two really great guys. So if your candy-ass feelings are so sensitive that they can't take a joke, then tune out and run home and cry to mama. So untwist your panties and get ready for the Dude I Got an Idea podcast, hosted by James McEwen and Greg Mason.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we are live tonight on November 7th, and I'm James McEwen, and joining us via phone in an airport somewhere is my co-host.
Hey, it's Greg Mason joining you from Phoenix, Arizona. I got a chance to fly down here and see my daughter to say help her buy cars and actually accurate. She's the one that went out and did all the work, so I just got to enjoy a lot of good food and drink a lot of beer.
Excellent. Well, Greg is going to join us live with on the phone, and tonight in the studio, taking Greg's place, is our guest, and I'm going to jump right into this tonight. I'm getting some feedback there. Oh, that's your background stuff. Yeah, Greg's in an airport, so you may hear some stuff in the background there. Tonight we have a very special guest with us. We have Ken Carson from the YouTube show Dead Drift. Hey, hello. Ken, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here, man. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. When you got a hold of me and said you were interested in coming on our webcast, podcast, whatever this thing is now, it's taking on a mind of its own.
Right.
I was really excited.
What we're highly trained professionals.
So, Ken, tell us a little bit about your show.
Yeah, so Dead Drift started as a short little comedy skit that Maddie and I put together. Board one winter, and then after kind of floating around from a few different projects, one to another, we decided to come back to this world and kind of flesh it out and create a series out of it. With we wanted to use physical, practical sets instead of doing everything on green screen. Some green screen stuff still kind of got in there as it will, but the majority of the show is shot on physical sets that we built in garages, and it's just a story of two idiots and the holographic artificial intelligence program that keeps them alive on their way to Saturn's moon Titan, where they kind of make a pretty monumental discovery that could change the course of humanity. And they basically just have to bumble their way through all of these different events that happen and try and keep it together and save the day. And
So it sounds kind of similar to what we're doing, except for we don't have the AI playing idiots.
Right. Yeah, very much. It's the whole two idiots premise, very much an Odd Couple kind of thing.
So I've got a little clip here.
Oh,
We're
sweet.
gonna play. It's from your first episode. In fact, it's the whole first episode, but we're only gonna play a few minutes of it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go to that, and then we'll come back. So here we go.
Explain to me how you accidentally incinerated 17 crates of cookies.
Dude, you're still hung up on that? They were just cookies.
I don't want to hear the words. Just cookies. Come out of your mouth. Ever again. Just cookies? I'd throw them in the brig. If we had one.
Okay, so that's a little bit of the first episode. Where'd the cookie thing come from?
So the original skit was this character, Captain Banks, and he had lost power in his ship. His ship was drifting and spinning out of control. He called it a dead drift. And he was maintaining his sanity and recording a series of ship's logs. And kind of what pushed him over the edge is as he's recording these logs, the cookie supply is dwindling to the point where he eventually runs out of cookies, and he kills his shipmate, Morris, because he finds out Morris has a stash of cookies. And that was kind of the skit, the original skit that the whole series was based on. So in the series, it's not about cookies, but we tried to work in little cookie references here and there, kind of as an homage to the original concept. So Captain Banks in the series is a member of something called the Cookie Guild, which is some kind of a shadowy political organization back on Earth that wields a lot of clout.
In the cookie world.
Yeah.
In the cookie world. Hey, so when you got started in this, how did you get started? Just you and your friend decided, let's just make this into a web show, or how did it begin?
Well, I had been kind of between projects, actually. I've been doing independent filmmaking, video production stuff for, since the early 90s, mid-90s, and short films. I did a public access TV show on TCTV from 97 up until 2003. It was called Damn It, This Is Stupid. And then, quit doing that for a while, and then we started doing some short films. We actually rented out the Capitol Theater and premiered one of our short films downtown. We made dozens of short films over the years that always got rejected from the Olympia Film Festival, so we decided to host our own film festival down at the Urban Onion Grand Ballroom up above the Urban Onion one year. And then, so when Dead Drift came about, I was just kind of between projects. I didn't really have anything on my plate at that time. But there's always kind of a need to be making something. So Maddie, who plays Captain Banks, approached me with this skit that he had written about this captain on a spaceship going crazy, running out of cookies. And we shot it. And then, like I said, we bounced to a couple other projects in the meantime, but we winded up coming back to Dead Drift to create more.
The thing is, James, what you ought to do is you ought to give him all the material that occurred with your wife and your kid involving the cookies, and I'm not going to go any farther than that, because I think that would be pretty hilarious.
Girl Scout cookie drama.
Feed that into. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you could write that. I definitely could write that up into something for you.
I think the Girl Scouts are definitely a major power player in the Cookie Guild, for sure.
Yeah, they would be like the granddaddy of all the cookie guilds.
Yeah.
They got the cookie consortium right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg. Tell you, I sat down and actually watched that first episode, and I was laughing so hard I started watching the second one, and it's that stupid funny that you just it is so stupid it's hilarious, and that you can actually see people in your life that fit those characters.
That's scary.
Yeah, it really was. Especially when the guy turned and looked at him and said, "Come on, dude, they're just cookies."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big compliment, actually, Ken, because Greg is not a science fiction fan whatsoever.
I appreciate that. That's great to hear.
I'm working on him. I'm trying to get him. I started with my books, and now with your show, maybe we'll turn him into a fan after all.
You know, that it was the fax machine too that was so funny, especially when all the papers came flying out of it.
I tried to set it up so that there was going to be stuff that was going to appeal to the kind of the hardcore sci-fi geeks, and that's me. Although, I mean, that could be debated. I don't know, like, you know, the ins and outs of the Doctor and all that jazz. But I love, you know, Star Trek, Blade Runner, Philip K. Dick, classic science fiction. I'm all about it. But I wanted there to be not just jokes for, like, super geeks, super sci-fi geeks. I wanted there to be other jokes that were going to appeal to people that weren't, you know, like that. So, and I think that's where maybe the cookie stuff and the facts jokes and whatnot came from.
Well, it's clever and it's cute, and what's great about it is that you can follow it. I mean, I'm a huge science fiction geek. I mean, I'm a science fiction author, the whole nine yards. So,
Right.
For me, it was a real treat because it was like watching, obviously very heavily influenced by Red Dwarf.
Yes.
A lot of Red Dwarf type jokes in there. So for me, it was like, okay, I get it. I see it. And I saw all the little drops. Every time you dropped a little thing here and there that was science fiction, I got it. But there's also a lot of stuff in there that you didn't have to be a science fiction fan to understand or enjoy, which makes it great.
Well, that was what I enjoyed about it, was that I didn't have to be a science fiction fan to really start to enjoy the heck out of it, because I leaned over towards that military stuff, and when he said, you know, Captain, it's just cookies, and all I could imagine was how the captain was going to react to that, because of course the cookies are so important, you know, and that's what made it incredibly funny to me, and I enjoyed it, and I want to watch more of them. So you're hitting both groups. You're hitting the hardcore science fiction geeks and guys like me who aren't,
Right.
and just enjoy good solid comedy, and that's what that is.
Nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. That is quite the compliment.
So, season 2. Is there going to be a season 2?
It's possible. I have written more episodes, and I think they're really good. Whether or not we're going to go forward and actually produce any of them is kind of up in the air at this point. So definitely on the fence right now about it. I can't confirm or deny. Yeah, that there will be any more, because it's not that it's labor intensive. It's that it's space intensive. Like, you need to find garages that are empty that you can build these sets in, and then, you know, your friends and their wives have to let you keep these sets in their garages for, you know, months while you're filming everything on there, and so that's, I think, the tricky, difficult part. If I just had access to, like, a giant warehouse, that would be the best. You know, I could just build everything in there and shoot whenever.
Well, you know, a lot of filmmakers do that. In fact, I happen to know the director of the second and third Freddy Krueger films.
Oh, nice.
And they shot both of those in a warehouse, the whole thing.
Well, you know that the third Ninja Turtles movie was shot in a big empty warehouse down in the Coast Guard Air Station. Not Coast Guard Air Station, one of the Coast Guard stations in Oregon.
Huh.
In Astoria. Yeah, they shot that whole thing inside a warehouse. But so I got a question for you, though, from the technical side of things, because I'm kind of interested. So how long? Now, these are what, 4 or 5 minutes long, right? Each episode is 4 or 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to shoot an episode, and how? I understand labor intensive with building the sets, but how work intensive is creating that 5-minute video?
Filming the episode, it didn't take that long. If you look at the actual time we spent actually filming an individual episode, it's probably a pretty low figure. It's just 5 minutes, you know, and not even all of that 5 minutes is actually the actors. Some of it is the spaceships, which were shot separately. But the biggest time spent comes in the post-production end of things. I don't know if I could really give you an hour figure. And one of the other issues with it is that a lot of the sets that you see in the show were actually in the same garage, so they were filmed months apart from each other, because we'd build the one set and then we'd film everything on that one set, and then we were done with it. Once we had everything we needed for the entire run of the whole series on that set was done and shot, we would tear that set down, build the next set, and then shoot everything we needed on that set. And that's kind of, I think, part of what took so long to create the series, because it was I started building sets in September of 2012, and
Wow.
we premiered the first episode last October. So basically 3 years in the making.
So, Ken, is this kind of like a labor of love for you, or is this something that you're looking to maybe bounce this into something more commercial project, or what was the thought process behind it? Because obviously, anytime you do any of these projects, I mean, there's costs involved, there's people involved, and there's a lot of logistics involved. So there's got to be some reason to do it. I mean, if it's just the love of it all, that's a good enough reason for most people. But what was your reason behind it?
It's definitely a labor of love. It's and Dead Drift was kind of like a love letter from me to all of my favorite science fiction that's inspired me, throughout my life. There, of course, is always this, part of you that wants it to be commercially successful, that wants it to be critically well received. But in the end, I loved making it. I love watching it. I definitely can see the flaws in it. I think the problem with the commercial aspect of it, trying to make something like this commercially successful, is that I don't know how to do that. There's and for independent filmmakers at kind of the level that I'm at, there's no guidebook really that tells you how to do it. Everybody says they've got a guidebook on how to do it, and you can sign up to their blog or whatever. But I think the people that really know how to do it are, first of all, they're in Los Angeles and they're doing it. Yeah, I don't know. It was really a labor of love more than anything else. I'd love for it to be commercially successful, but I don't see that happening.
Well, not yet, anyway, right? Well, always think positive, right?
Right. Sometimes it's hard, man. Maintain that positive thinking.
Trust me, we know.
Yeah.
We know. We started this. This is our 16th show.
Okay.
And
congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And we're going strong. We keep building our audience, and it's amazing. Every time I check the stats and see where we've been listened to now, we've been in. Our latest was Turkey.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Turkey, Singapore, the Netherlands, Germany, all over the United States, and we're just two knuckleheads in a basement,
Right.
Well, and
one and a half knuckleheads. I take up most of the one. So.
And Greg is kind of our roaming reporter. So he's been in Hawaii. We've done a show on it, and one hit them in. I can't talk tonight with him in Hawaii and now in Phoenix.
Nice.
So there's another aspect to this too that I find kind of interesting, only because of what my sister does. I have a sister that's a history professor at Johns Hopkins University. It's my second oldest sister, and she teaches and lectures on history as seen through film. And of course, she talks about how we look at the past through the films that they took, and then also she talks about how our future generations will look at us based upon the films we make. And adding this to that mix is what really gets me laughing, because I'm going to think these people are going to think we were crazy, wild, and all kinds of weird stuff was going on.
Right.
Yeah, could you imagine what people would think, if they were looking back at look at the historical record
right.
from 2016. Yeah, they want to.
They're going to go, oh my God, that whole thing was, that whole time was crazy, So there was space travel, and that may be a way they look at it and misinterpret what they're really looking at.
I think it is fascinating to read old science fiction or to watch old science fiction movies and to imagine, because you look at it, you read it or you watch it and you see all the things that they got wrong, but then you also see some of the things that they got right, and it's neat to see that they predicted some of the things that they got right. But it's also, a lot of people tend to be really harsh on them for the things that they got wrong, or for the the way that they treat if you go back to some of the stuff from the 60s and the 70s, the way that they treat women, the writers, and it just seems kind of weird to us nowadays, but you have to consider that it's a product of its time. They were imagining the future from back then, so that's fascinating to me. I love that stuff.
Well, one of the most distinctive things I remember was Flash Gordon, the original one, starring, I can't remember who it starred, but I remember watching it as his rocket ship shot across space, and that the sparks were dripping down without, below the aircraft as this thing shot across the sky. And of course, at that point, we knew that space was weightless, and for those things to happen, well, it's just impossible. And there's other things in films that I see that are always funny when I look at that old stuff, because I still do watch them every once in a while.
Right.
Now, Ken, got a question for you.
All right.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. If Greg hasn't seen all the way to the end of the series, I have. I've watched every episode.
Spoilers.
Yeah, a little spoiler here. So.
Oh, wait. Hey, we got a spoiler alert coming on here.
Yeah, a little spoiler alert. I got to ask. I mean, I loved it because I'm an H.P. Lovecraft fan. So,
Okay.
But how did you work in Cthulhu? That was just hilarious.
See, how did we work him in? What do you mean?
Well, that kind of came out of left field. All of a sudden, the aliens and all this, the purple aliens, and all of a sudden he's possessed by Cthulhu, and it's like,
Right.
wait a minute.
No, I mean, I love the H.P. Lovecraft, and I love mixing up, different kind of genres and whatnot. So having this, what has been pretty much a straightforward science fiction story the whole time, all of a sudden it kind of shifts gears, and you've got a Lovecraftian abomination that is now, the villain of the story. I think it came from, I have a fascination with Enceladus. Saturn's moon Enceladus. It's got an icy crust, and it shoots geysers of ice water out into space. So we basically know that there's a liquid ocean under there. So it's fascinating to consider that there's something alive under the crust of Enceladus. And so I'm like, well, what could it be? I'm like, and then these guys are these rednecks. So I'm like, okay, he's ice fishing, And I'm like, well, he could catch a monster, and then that monster could like take over his mind. I don't know, man. I don't know where it came from. I just thought it was fun.
It was. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I really appreciate it. Again, being a fan of that genre, I caught it right away what it was, and I really appreciate. You can tell that you're a fan because you could pronounce it, Cthulhu. So if things don't continue for Dead Drift, new projects on the works, or what do you got going on, Ken?
Yeah, I got a couple other projects in the works right now. One of them is an adaptation of. So there's this guy who did a bunch of the music for Dead Drift. You'll hear it in there, Broken Kites, and he kickstarted a comic book graphic novel a few years back. I helped him kickstart it, and he got it published, so I got my physical copy, and I read through it. It was great. It's this kind of dark, supernatural thriller story about this girl who gets involved with some really scary supernatural things going on. And he approached me a couple months back and asked if I would be interested in making a kind of a web series, a screen adaptation of this story. And I was like, well, that's very interesting. Let me go back and reread the comic book and see what I think. And I went and I reread the comic book, and I was like, yeah, this seems like something I would like to do. So after having worked on Dead Drift for basically 4 years, I was kind of faced with the choice of kind of striking while the iron is hot with Dead Drift and going forward and doing more, or taking a break and moving on to something else. And I think that I decided it was definitely I was due for a break, and so I'm going to do this Penny Palabras as a web series, and that's what it's called. It's called Penny Palabras. Really cool story, and then got a couple other things I'm working on as well. Don't necessarily want to talk about those too much at this point.
I don't
want
to
formulating.
Yeah, you don't want to give out your ideas too much.
Right.
As a filmmaker, I understand that.
I got
go ahead,
a question
Greg.
for Ken real quick. This definitely comes from the point of view where I sit in our podcasts. James is the one that came to me with this idea. James is the one that said, hey, let's do this. James is the one that said, let's create this thing and move forward. And I had no clue how to do it. So what advice would you give to those aspiring amateurs, or the ones that don't know that want to start something like this? What would you recommend to them to do? How would you tell them this is where you start?
It's hard. I think the advice is to quote that shoe brand, but it's really about just doing it. I saw a quote from, I think, Richard Branson. I'm not sure if that's the guy, the Virgin Airlines guy, and it said, if someone offers you a job that you don't know how to do, take it. Take the job. Because you can always learn how to do it after you take the job. You don't want to miss an opportunity because you don't know how to do something. Take it and then learn how to do it. So that's not exactly what I want to say, but you just got to start. You just got to start, because if you just throw yourself into it, you'll figure out a way to make it work. You know what I mean? Like, you're overwhelmed by all of these things that are happening, but somehow amidst all that chaos, you find a way to make it happen. Like you guys are doing here. Like, you're a co-host on a podcast now in its 16th episode, where before you did that, you didn't know anything about it, but now you're doing it, and it's working, and it's happening. So I guess just do it. That's really the only thing I can say about that.
I'll still tell you, I'm still not sure what the hell's going on. He tells me what to do.
Right.
Well, yeah, we're just jumping in there. We're learning. Tonight is our second episode that we're actually using our cameras. Our studio still isn't built, and we probably will be going probably within the next month or so. Have to do some canned episodes where we record them and play them live, because this is all going to get torn down and walls going to be put up and soundproofing and all the other fun stuff that's going to make it a nice studio in here. But we got the equipment. We wanted to try it out, wanted to see what we're doing, and we're doing it. And like you said, you just jump in there and do it. Yeah,
absolutely. It's kind of the sink or swim, or if you got no net, no safety net when you're on the trapeze, you can't miss. You just got to grab on.
Now, Ken, how did you find people to help crew? Because I noticed there's quite a few people involved in Dead Drift.
Most of the cast and the crew are just friends of mine, people that I've known for years and years, for the most case. There were a couple people here and there who volunteered to help out who I hadn't known for long. One guy, Jeremy, I found on Reddit, and he was incredibly helpful. He was probably our number one PA throughout the entire series. And then I think Alyssa Kay, who plays Hannah, was probably I think she was the only actor in the show who I hadn't known for years and years. And a big thing there was that I needed Hannah to be the strongest character in the show, kind of in a way. She had to be able to stand up against the constant, just ridiculous, over-the-top wackiness of Morris and Banks. So I needed someone who wouldn't falter and could absolutely own that role, and she did a fantastic job. Other than that, makeup artists for the aliens. I hired a makeup artist, Jennifer Jensen. She does great work. I hired a hair artist for Alyssa for Hannah's hair. I think that the hair artist for Hannah's hair and the makeup artist that did the aliens were the only two people that got paid on Dead Drift. Everyone else was volunteer.
Yeah, because these productions, they get pricey. Even small productions can get really pricey. I'm
Absolutely.
Sure, because you guys you had to buy some of the stuff to build your sets with. I'm sure you didn't scrounge it all. I did a production in college for a special effects class I was taking, and built a custom rig for my son to do the levitations with. He was a Star Wars one. He's a Jedi being trained, and he's getting levitated off the ground and stuff. So we built this custom wire rig and everything. And yeah, I dropped about $500 on that little two-minute project.
Well, making someone levitate, that's not easy.
It was a lot of fun. It was a labor of love. It was maybe I'll show you today off the show. But
nice.
Greg, did you have any other questions since we're running up against the clock here?
No, I sure didn't. I was going to say, I'm going to point at you for a sec, James, and say that you put a considerable amount of money into doing this, and have really been the one pushing this thing forward. I'm going to congratulate you for that right here on the line.
Well, thank you, Greg.
Boom.
Well, we're living the dream, man, and that's what it is. It's going out and doing what you want to do and enjoying it. You'll never work a day in your life if you enjoy what you do.
Right.
And it's taken me 20 years to learn that because I've worked a lot of cruddy jobs. So trying to make this big and popular, and I'm really impressed. And I got to give a shout out to our fans out there, because we're starting to get fans. We're getting people all over the world, all over the United States. Our podcast is getting bigger and bigger each week. And it's really the fans out there that's making it possible for us, And I'm going to go right into our promotions right quick, because we didn't do any commercials tonight, nor did we do a commercial at the beginning of the show, because we wanted the whole show with Ken. And so, it is our sponsors who make this possible. You guys, I got to tell you right now, the last couple of months have been my best book sales since I started this podcast. So your listeners out there, I appreciate you going out there and purchasing books, because that's what's paying for all this new equipment and everything is the book proceeds. So I really, really appreciate it. Appreciate the support. So keep it up. Go to Amazon.com, order your copy of Hammer's War, one or all three books. Christmas is coming up. They make great Christmas gifts. Also, make sure you check out tin-soldier.com, our other sponsor. If you're interested in miniatures for wargaming, or if you just are a collector or just like to have miniatures, they have the largest selection of custom-made miniatures anywhere on the web. They've been doing it for over 40 years. So check them out, tin-soldier.com. Ken, I want to thank you for coming on the show with us tonight.
Thanks very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
I wish you all the luck in the world with Dead Drift, and hopefully your other projects will go big, and we'll have you back on.
All right, sounds good, man. Thanks.
All right, Greg, you have fun. You have. See ya, Greg.
A little teaser for you. Okay, quick little teaser.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have been severe negotiations with a young woman about doing crazy X's.
Oh yes.
And of course, and you all know that's my daughter. And I was talking to her about it during the weekend I was here, and she said, yeah, she wants to go ahead and do it. She laughed. She thinks it's a great idea. So we're going to schedule and figure out when we can do that and get her on. And she's going to start talking about crazy X's.
Yeah, she's got some good crazy X stories. All right. Well, that's our show. I want to say thanks again.
Thanks for coming on. It was great talking to you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again live on mixnlr.com/Dude, I Got an Idea, and Facebook. You guys have a great, safe week, and go make sure you vote. Whether you like your candidates or not, vote for your local elections. It's very important.
Yeah, make sure you get the local votes in, and we'll see you guys later. Good night from Phoenix.